Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel, and jingle that bell for notifications. We have reached the ultimate leg of the Florida swing. It is the Valspar Championship in sunny, yet windy and stormy, sometimes Tampa, Florida, at Innisbrook, the Copperhead course. It's got the snake pit, one of the toughest stretches of finishing golf on the PGA Tour. Conor has got a victory lap just keyed up right now. I can't wait to show you all the success we're having on this show right after the drop. Oh, see, look what I did. Look what I did. We are back. We are live. Conor Coughlin, a big winner. I'll let you expand on that. Chelsea Pulford in the house. Thanks for joining us all the way from the thriving metropolis of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They have more than one person there. We know that for a fact because three of them are regulars of this show. Royal Slade up there from Canada waved the maple leaf flag. Our Canadian loonies are in the house.
All that tariff talk didn't scare them away. I love it.
Yeah, it should. It hurts us more, though. The Canadians are probably going to be fine without us.
I got good friends, man. It's just
we need Canadian timber more than they need us. So I think they're just sitting back and watching this shit show unfold. We're here to talk about some golf. Conor, are you drinking anything fancy today? I know we kind of broke the ice last week with some Woodford double oaked. I'm switching back to cold brew.
Wow. Nothing expensive. Just
classic Old Forester. That's a great value bottle right there. As everybody who's seen this show knows, the 1920 Prohibition is my favorite of the old. Yeah, you like that one, huh? You like that one?
Yeah, I like the 10. Just a little less octane.
Yeah. All right. Not cold brew. Yeah. Well, it's 70 degrees. What am I supposed to do? I'm not drinking hot coffee.
Your whiskey over ice.
Oh, I don't dilute my whiskey. Crazy.
That's why you guys give me shit about the metal ball all the time. I like it cold, but I don't like it watered down.
I call you Sparky.
Only when I'm dragging them.
Uh-huh. Well, we have reached the end of the Florida swing. We're hitting Texas next, but I really like the Valspar. We're going to go back and talk about the players. I mean, the Players Championship was exciting. We had some decent weather early on, and then it got windy and gross. And the cream really rises to the top on those tougher golf courses. Am I right, Conor?
Yeah, somebody saw something coming.
Yeah, it's almost like you were ready for the Rory party early on, and then I ended up sending you a text about, oh, look how Lucas Glover, my 150-1 pick, is still hanging in there, and you're like, well, it doesn't matter because Rory's gonna win. And I was like, yeah, he was right.
Well, let's hit a drop and let's get into it so we can talk.
I know you're ready. I'm trying to stretch it out a little bit. All right, here's the news, Niblick. We're going to catch up on the world of golf. Well, it's not the luck of the Irish. We might want to change the name of the 17th hole to the new Emerald Isle because, Conor, what happened on Monday morning?
One Rory McIlroy won the Players for a second time for his third win on St. Patrick's Day over the course of his career, his 28th tour win. And if you listen to me in this show, you got him at double-digit odds, which is fantastic for Rory McIlroy. So
it's great.
No, it was it's funny. I was standing in a bar on Saturday morning, and somebody was giving me a hard time about being a Rory admirer.
Oh, yes.
And I looked square in the eyes and I said, he's not winning right now, but he's about to be. And I got
Was that before Pebble Beach?
No, this was this weekend.
So what are they talking about?
So they were just talking about the tournament. Didn't think he was going to win, and I stood my ground. I said, "No, Rory's going to win. You might as well get a live bet in on it. Rory's going to win." And
and when the wind is up like that, I was kind of with you. I wasn't when I looked at it. It was plus 360, and he was hanging around. So I was like, it's not a great value for me to bet that. But I mean, I could see as the winds picked up, as Sawgrass got even more Sawgrassian, more Pete Dye devilish behavior was afoot at the golf course. You start to see these very common names pop up. Lucas Glover, an incredibly good wind player, hung in there, which is why I was sending you my happiness with that. But everybody saw what Rory did in the windy conditions at Pebble Beach alongside Shane Lowry. Look at who popped up to the top as Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy, all the Irish guys. Of course, it was JJ Spawn who had a magnificent week. He's turning it around. I like JJ. JJ Spawn has turned a corner, even though he lost in that playoff to Rory McIlroy. Nobody really expected him to beat Rory head to head, especially in an aggregate playoff. But we have to shed some light on how well JJ Spawn is playing in bigger tournaments this year. That's not like him. Usually we see JJ Spawn pop up at the Barracuda, at the Fortinet, at the Puerto Rico Open. Like this is a guy who pops up and gets top tens and makes his hay in lesser events. He damn near won the Players Championship. He was 3 rotations away from that birdie putt on 18 from the pine straw. He got the ball on the green, had a birdie putt to win the Players, and came up 3 inches short. So
I don't know why you got to cast shade at the Fortinet. Jeez,
it's another like I named 2 NorCal tournaments that aren't there. They do get points, they do get money, but yeah, they are ancillary events on the PGA Tour where JJ Spawn has usually done well, but we don't see a guy like that compete at the big tournaments like that.
No, JJ Spawn is one of the players that we talk about a lot, where if you can take distance out of the equation, you can focus on accuracy, and that all marries up to a week where he's actually hitting like accurate shots.
Yeah.
And he's a very elite approach player at times.
We saw
what was unique about this week for him is it was his off the tee game that actually helped him out here. Like normally he's a pretty flat player off the tee. This week he gained 3.5 strokes, and so that's a big difference, and that's what propelled him ahead a little bit. And then you look at the rest of the consistency throughout the bag, like you and I talked about ad nauseum. You needed to be good from top to bottom, and his around the green game was fantastic. We were looking at almost 5 strokes gained, getting up and down. Putting was on point. Like JJ really played an excellent tournament. You can't take anything away from him.
Nope. It's
just when you're playing up against Rory McIlroy, who's firing on literally all cylinders. I mean, he gained 8 strokes on approach over the week, and that's in
and that's usually where he struggles.
Well, and you look at his putter showed up. This is the second tournament in a row that he's gained over 4 strokes on the greens. I mean, I love where he's setting up for Augusta. A lot of the things that we worry about with Rory at Augusta are really kind of like rounding into form really nicely. And we were talking about it in the pre-show. When you look at what Rory was able to do with some of the chop down punch type of short irons, some of the kind of wizardry almost, if you look at in the playoff, I mean, if you look at the half to 3/4 swing 9 iron that he took on 17, if you look at the punch 8 iron that he hit on 18, it was of no consequence really at that point. He just needed to hit it straight and land it somewhere playable. But the point of the exercise, it's the shots were fantastic. And we look at those short approach shots of Rory as being a little sketchy, and they looked anything but this week.
Yeah, I think he found something. And the world of golf is on notice because, as we've seen Scottie Scheffler kind of scuffle a bit, I mean, for his standards, of course, just because he missed a top 10 doesn't mean that Scottie Scheffler's dead. But we're starting to see kind of the pack come back to Scottie after his torrid stretch last year. Nothing taken away, but we have to consider that a lot of these guys are just about as good as Scottie Scheffler, and on any given week, they can come out and light the place up even when it's windy. That kind of leads us to what we're going to talk about after the next drop. But did you see our favorite LPGA golfer, Charley Hull?
What a good line. What a good headline.
is giving up smoking cigarettes. It's kind of part of her persona as an LPGA professional that people recognize. She's obviously a saucy player. She has great sound bites. She's English, so she's got a lot of funny things she says, but she's known for smoking cigarettes, or as darts, as they say, on the golf course. And she is going to bet on herself and give up smoking. So she said that she's going to pay, I think it was some influencer, $10,000 of her own money if she didn't give up smoking in the next 2 months. So yeah, I will take the props on writing that headline.
Dude, that was solid. I read it a couple of times. So I'm like, that's pretty clever.
So good on Charley Hull for giving up the vice of smoking cigarettes. Hopefully she find something positive out of that experience. And I don't think $10,000 means a lot to her, but it's enough to make you think like, oh, if I don't actually follow through on this, I have to write somebody a check for $10,000. It seems like a pretty good incentive.
Dude, she pounds heaters out there though. I don't know.
She does.
I got my doubts.
I mean, sometimes it's just, it's more than willpower with that, because nicotine's extremely addictive and harmful for your health in the long run. And she runs like marathons. She's training for marathons and stuff. She doesn't even train golf. They ask her what her goals are for the season, and she said just win and play good golf. And they ask her what she's working on. She's like, I don't train golf. She doesn't do what the other professional golfers do. She goes out and runs marathons and does like Ironman stuff. So I think that this is more in line with her just wanting to be an athlete, and maybe the tobacco is hindering what she wants to reach as a peak athlete. So good on her.
Love me some Charley Hull.
She's awesome.
I was going to add one thing. We didn't make our headlines because it wasn't official until about 15 minutes ago, but we do have the first championship set for the TGL. You're going to see good old New York versus Atlanta. As I predicted, Atlanta just rolled your Bay Boys.
I can't believe that either, because the Bay Boys were rolling all regular season, but they just didn't have enough. Atlanta got hot.
Yeah, Atlanta. And the funniest thing about watching Atlanta is Billy Ho can't play real golf, but my God, can he play in a simulator?
Is the fake grass on those rotating greens, man. They must be Bermuda. Yeah, Bay played like the best team all regular season, and then they get to the playoffs. They're like, meh. Royal
Minwoo shit the bed on 2 putts, and
Minwoo's been on fire. Minwoo's been on fire. What happened to him? Ludwig, you got all these great players on the Bay Boys, and they just laid flat.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to be playing JT in any kind of head-to-head competition, though. I figured Atlanta was going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what do you say we go over Innisbrook, the Copperhead course? I love this tournament. It's anytime we get carnage promised to us, I'm all for it.
Florida, because it's always carnage.
Yeah, all the tough golf courses on the tour, they're not even long golf courses. They are all set up the way golf courses should be set up for professional tournaments. They're not long. They make it up with long, rough, fast greens and challenging angles. Like, you have to plan your way around all these golf courses. That's why I like, because carnage is built in. You don't have to make them 8,000 yards.
Yeah, this week's going to be particularly fun because not only do you get course carnage, but you're going to get some weather carnage.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's hit the caddy notes. Connor. We got the Copperhead course at Innisbrook, home of the Snake Pit. Take it away.
Home of the Snake Pit. Yeah, so the Valspar Championship, Innisbrook Resort, Copperhead course in Palm Harbor, Florida. Par 71, yardage is 7,340 yards. Bermuda fairways, Bermuda greens. Do have some typical overseed with POA here and there, so they putt a little bit different than some of the previous weeks that we've had. Copperhead is definitely a brutal test of all skills. It's keeping with the theme of the Florida swing. You need to be good for with the whole bag. Tee shots require a ton of accuracy. You got dog legs forcing shots to be shaped in both directions. The tree line fairways and deep rough add to that difficulty. Also, these are pinched a lot tighter than maybe what it gets credit for. These are pretty narrow, pretty hard to hit fairways.
Yeah, lots of overhanging trees.
So on top of that, like we just talked about, the rough is pretty brutal. So if you do get wayward, you got some pretty deep rough. You've also got pine straw again. You've got a lot of bunkering, especially adjacent to the fairways. There's like some mini church pews on a hole or two. There's plenty of bunkers in this place to get you into a lot of trouble. Water in play on 9 holes. I think it's either 8 or 9 holes if memory serves me right. So plenty of ways to get in trouble. Your layups are going to be putting you at about 175 plus. So we're going to have a lot of those long iron approaches again here. The holes and greens, plenty of protection again by bunkering. So it's not real easy to hit these greens typically around the green play. A lot of the short iron, short game stats apply here. It's one of the more highly correlated stats actually is strokes gained short game.
Yep.
That's something to be thinking about. Bo talked about it already. The Snake Pit, which is a pretty damn brutal 3-hole stretch, brings these guys home at 16, 17, and 18. Plenty of carnage, plenty of drama there. And maybe one other thing that's a little bit unique about this place is the par layout. You got 4 par 5s, 5 par 3s. So actually par 5 scoring and par 3 scoring this week are a little bit more of a premium than typical. A lot of times you can kind of gather what kind of scoring prowess the guys have got by looking at some of the par 4s and some of the key par 4 distances. You can do that here, but the par 5s and the par 3s, you've got to score. And so those are really important things to look at. Keeping with the habit from last week, before I let Bo talk about this place, how we build our model, we looked at ball striking, which is a little more of a strokes gained plus accuracy metric. We looked at strokes gained short game, which I already mentioned. Strokes gained off the tee. You definitely cannot be losing off the tee here. You need to be accurate. Shots gained putting on Bermuda, 3-putt avoidance, fairways in regulation, green in regulation. And like I mentioned before, par 5 scoring, par 3 scoring, and then approach from 175 and 200 plus were kind of the main way to round out some of our modeling.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A lot of our modeling is with the same stats, maybe different weights, different filters. It's kind of why we've gone 4 straight weeks where we picked the winner on the PGA Tour. You know why? Because we have different filters on our models. Conor uses a less filtered approach. He expands out his rounds a little bit more, and then I ultra filter. I distill it down. I boil it down into a concentrate.
It's
triple distilled, yeah, like vodka. But anyway, this golf course is very interesting because you mentioned 4 par 5s. All of them are long except for the first hole. The very first hole, number 1, is 560, which is reachable for just about everybody in this field. It is the easiest hole on the golf course. So you start off, you better make a birdie or better on the first hole because the rest of it just gets progressively tougher. Culminating in the Snake Pit, which is the 3rd most difficult finishing 3-hole stretch on tour behind PGA National, Jack's Place, and a little place called Quail Hollow with the Green Mile. So yeah, this place has teeth. The main difference with the Snake Pit is that it's really hard to hit the greens on the Snake Pit, especially on the 16th. The 16th has the lowest greens in regulation on tour at 36%. That is unreal. Some of these guys out in this field are hitting greens at a 70-75% clip. It ain't going to happen on 16. Over the 3-hole stretch, you're looking at less than a 50% greens in regulation rate on these 3 holes combined. 36% on 16 is bonkers. This hole is absolutely brutal, and par is a great score on 16. Bogey is pretty much passable. It's not even it's a long hole. It's just got lots of trouble, and the green is absolutely ridiculous. It is a potato chip that lunges off into the water. Good luck. Good luck to everybody on 16 entering the snake pit, because it's going to get you.
Yeah, I was just going to comment too on the scoring on that hole. 16 in particular carries a 25% bogey or worse rate, which is kind
very
of
high, very high.
And then, I mean, you follow up 17's got almost a 20% bogey or worse rate, and then 18 is 22%. I mean, this is a really, really brutal stretch. The only saving grace maybe is that holes 9 through 14 are your best opportunities to actually score. They are chunked together, the easiest holes on the course consecutively. Not a huge thing for like our betting stuff necessarily, but like for people that are playing DFS, that's where you're looking at some of those birdie or better streaks.
Yeah, and one final note before we get to the odds and betting on golf is there is weather in the forecast. It's not supposed to rain very much or have much moisture, but the winds are picking up on afternoon Thursday. So there's been a huge change in the lines from yesterday before we had the wind report to today. We got the tee times. So anybody who has drawn an afternoon tee time Thursday, which means they're going to play the morning on Friday, that wave has seen incredible odds boosts. And the AM PM wave, which has got a favorable draw, their odds have plummeted. So where you have to pay a lot of money to bet the guys that got the favorable weather wave with the wind being dialed up on Thursday afternoon. So take that into account when we're talking about this. We're going to get into it a lot because that seems to be the story with this week's tournament, is that if you got the afternoon draw on Thursday, you are not likely to have a very favorable outlook. But that doesn't mean that they can't overcome it with good play and make the weekend and make noise over the weekend, because the rest of the week after Thursday afternoon looks pretty tame as far as weather goes, as far as wind goes. So survive in advance.
Saturday is a little dicey. Like it's about 15 sustained is what they're looking at right now, which I would presume will have some gusts associated. But outside of that, I mean, the weather, it's supposed to be one of the warmer days of the week too. So, I mean, I don't know, 15 isn't much compared to some of the stuff these guys have been playing in lately, to be honest. Sunday looks like it's probably right in line, like around 13 miles an hour. Thursday, like you said, is the kind of the brutal one.
Thursday afternoon, 20 to 30. That's gonna change some things. It already changed the lines on all the major sports books. They changed drastically. We've seen a little bit of movement back to the median, back to the average, where we get a little bit more action on those lines that the books moved first. I think it's starting to even out, but it's still going to be a very heavily affected wave dispersion when it comes to the weather. So we will be referencing Thursday tee times when we're going over these lines.
Yeah, which for people that have watched this show for a while, I can't think of a time that we talk about that much. Like usually
we don't get that much of a heads up on a one specific wave getting wind without the other wave. So there has been times where it's surprised us. The weather has created a wave advantage. Now we have a little bit of heads up with it, so that it does kind of work in our favor, because if we see somebody that's kind of iffy and they're in the afternoon on Thursday, we don't have to talk about them that much. Where if somebody's iffy and they get the lucky draw with the morning Thursday, then we might be propping them up a little bit more.
Speaking of propping guys up, should we get to it?
Let's bet on some golf, Connor.
Love that for us.
All right. The Copperhead course.
Nice calf, Bo. Nice calves.
Nice calves, yeah. They don't quite look that good anymore, but they're still good. All right. Top of the board here. It has changed drastically, as we mentioned before. The favorites. We have Tommy Fleetwood at the top of the board at outright favorite over world number 3, Xander Schauffele, plus 1,100. Schauffele has the morning draw as well. Tommy morning draw, Sepp Straka plus 1,600 morning draw. These are all shorter than they were yesterday when the wins and the tee times were announced. Tommy Fleetwood and Xander Schauffele were each plus 1,400. And now somehow Tommy Fleetwood is favored over a guy who can't help but win tournaments lately, the last year and a half. And then you got Tommy Fleetwood, who has never won anything ever, but he rates out on a golf course like this. It's a grinders type golf course. The one thing about Tommy Fleetwood that we don't like is that he never makes birdies. So if you get into a scoring fest, Tommy Fleetwood's going to be nowhere to be found. He will make the cut, but he's not going to win tournaments, especially when birdies need to be made. Can we make sense of why Tommy Fleetwood is favored over Xander Schauffele here?
I mean, recent form with Xander. I'm not reading into it near as much as some people are probably. The stats certainly warrant it. Since the rib injury, he hasn't been great.
Yeah.
He also, Xander struggles on some things in general. We're going back 36 plus rounds that are important here. Fairways, hit percentage. He's not necessarily the best. What he is good at is getting himself out of that trouble. So I tend to ignore that stat with Xander. He's also Xander really doesn't score well on par fives. I don't think that the books are looking at it that way, but yeah, I can't put my finger on it. Hey, look, I've been high on Tommy for weeks. I told you earlier, even at the plus 1,000 he's at now, I'm going to bet him because I have been losing money on Tommy for weeks and weeks and weeks. So
for years and years and years,
I will not forgive myself if he hits this week.
On the first week of all time that I've bet on Tommy to win.
So I got him earlier when he was still at 12, which is good. And went by, I say earlier, it was 2 hours ago, and he's already dropped another 200. So yeah, Fleetwood at plus 1,000. To be perfectly honest, if you're late to getting a bet in on him, I would recommend just holding off, maybe doing a little bit of what Bo does, watch and see if you can get a good live number on him, or something like that over the course of the weekend. But that's way too short.
Tommy Fleetwood live, I guarantee it. I was lucky enough to get him yesterday at plus 1,400, and that's about as short as I would go on him.
So what Tommy, the live bet proposition Tommy opens up for you though is if the weather isn't great on Saturday and it isn't going to be great on Sunday as well, depending on how that shakes out, that increases the value of Tommy. So if you have a good live number on him come close of business Friday, and he's in contention at all, it's not the worst thing to take a look at.
True. I think that the main favorite that I cannot drive home hard enough is Sepp Straka, Mr. Straka here, the big Austrian here below me. Sepp Straka, red hot this season, playing absolutely phenomenal golf. This course sets up perfectly for him. He's a really good wind player, so if he did get the unlucky draw, which he didn't, he got the 8:13 a.m. tee time on Thursday. Sepp Straka opened at plus 2,000. He's down to plus 1,600. I'm still smashing that line because Sepp Straka is the kind of player that would play well here. Actually, he opened at plus 2,200. That's where I got him. So just because he's a little shorter now doesn't mean you shouldn't bet on him. He's still plus 320 for a top 5 and plus 190 or plus 160 for a top 10. I feel pretty comfortable even at those odds of playing a little three-way ladder at the top of this board, because if you're looking at Fleetwood and Schauffele's form, Fleetwood's lack of winning anything ever, who do you want to bet on as a favorite? I think you go with the guy with the win this year, and that the only one with the win this year of this group is Sepp Straka.
Yeah, so Straka, I loved at the plus 2,200 that you got him at. Obviously, we've been talking back and forth all day. I didn't get to him until he had already dropped to plus 1,600. I went ahead and got it.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not great. I mean,
no,
yes, Straka's playing good, and Straka fits this place okay. He's got not the best history here, but yeah, I mean, I like him a hell of a lot better at the 22. I think I already know. So I mean, I slid up a little ways from him to Michael Kim, who's holding steady at plus 2,800. Who, even though it's not a win, he's playing, I mean, stellar golf right now. And so I really like the number. He's got the good tee time draw.
Yep.
So
that's another guy I got great odds on.
Yeah, would you get him at 35 or something?
40. Yeah, so Michael Kim was the biggest mover. He opened at plus 4,000. That's where I got him. Of course, the missed cut last week helped me get those odds. And then everybody found out that he got the morning tee time at 7:40. So he's not going to see any of those high wins on Thursday afternoon. He was also number 3 in my model anyway. Number 1 in bogey avoidance. Number 1 in tee to green. Number 6 in good drives gain. Number 13 in scrambling. 6th in strokes gained par 5. This guy is rolling. He's absolutely rolling. I got him at plus 4,000. He's down to plus 3,000 now. So that's he bounced all the way down to plus 2,800. I think he's kind of corrected back to 30. I like that line right there. Michael Kim's playing amazing golf. That's a guy that you and I both agree on. We're agreeing on a lot this tournament because it's a really specialized tournament with or without the wave advantage.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you just said, like everybody that we've mentioned so far, you and I are completely in lockstep about like statistically and how they look.
Don't let them get hot.
like what has happened in some of my like dissuading on some of these guys is solely based on the numbers. Like, yeah, and like Bo and I, pretty much every guy that we brought up so far, we both agree on are the right guys to be betting. I think it's your risk tolerance because these numbers are getting so short on some of these guys. So it's just you may have to take your stand and aim your gun wisely.
Yeah, one guy that I got at 40 that is regretful because he's number 2 in my model is Alex Smalley. He is, because he drew a 1:01 p.m. tee time, has fallen all the way to plus 6,500. I don't know that I want to even touch the afternoon wave, especially if it's a guy like Smalley who doesn't tend to play well in bigger tournaments or more difficult tournaments. But Smalley's playing good golf. He's had some good finishes the last few weeks. Number 2 in my models because he's number 3 in birdies or better, 6th in scrambling, 2nd in 200 plus proximity, 3rd in par 5 scoring, 6th in around the green. He's just a solid all around player. He doesn't do well in that 175 to 200 bucket, but everything else seems to be okay. Alex Smalley, if he drew that morning wave, would have been way shorter than he ever should be. But even at plus 6,500, I just don't know if I could do it. I already have him locked in at plus 4,000, so let's hope he makes the cut and can do something. But a guy I dropped off of my ticket was Bo Hostler, who opened at plus 8,000, and he's a pretty good win player, but I don't know if he's good enough to. I mean, he's dropped to plus 120 to 1. 121 Bo Hostler because he drew the shit end of the stick with the 12:50 p.m. tee time.
My God, you're getting deep quick.
I'm just saying it's where they opened is so far. Like Hostler was 80. Where I got them is mid range, but you got guys you're placing your bets today after everything had already kind of released,
which was a poor choice.
Well, it's also, you got some advantage to that, and you also have clarity on your side. I got a little bit lucky with some of my picks getting shorter with the news, and unlucky with the other ones. At least you had some clarity when you're making your choices. I noticed, I think you should talk about one of our favorite golfers on this show for years now, and that's Will Zalatoris. The dude's starting to heat up. He putted extremely well at Sawgrass last week, which is not characteristic of him. Ball striking seems to be coming back a little bit. Tell me about Willie Z.
You kind of hit the nail on the head with Willie Z. Like, so we kind of were waiting for the resurgence of the like elite approach game, and at API he gained 4.5. Players he gained 5.1. Right, so that's more or less back. What took a little regression last week at the Players was his off the tee game, which at API he gained almost 4 strokes on off the tee. So as you look at kind of the total package of what he's kind of been fluctuating through, dating back to like the AT&T, if you look at where he's excelling, the approach is really stabilized. The overall tee to green, so a lot of that off the tee game has really stabilized. The putter has actually started to stabilize. He had a pretty poor showing at API, but the previous weeks were actually pretty decent for Zalatoris. So I think what I'm looking at with Willie Z this week is just trying to be early on him a little bit. Getting that 40-1 seems like a really good number in comparison to the rest of the guys in that range for a guy that, like, truthfully is one of the best bogey avoiding guys in this field. He's one of the better par 5 scorers in the field. He's really pretty decent from that longer approach range. And like I said, the guys I'm looking at are elite ball strikers. Willie Z is an elite ball striker. Just need the rest of the game to kind of stay in the form that it is leading into here. And I think he's kind of going a little overlooked. So if you compare him to like the Thomas Dietrichs and the Ben Ons of the world, and even the Keith Mitchells of the world that are around that same number, 40-1 seems like a really good value for the player that he is in comparison to those guys.
So we have to address the question because it's perfect timing. What do we think of Shane Lowry getting the shit into the draw, but slipping all the way to 40-1? That's an interesting. He was 25-1 early on, and we were in on him because it's a tough golf course. He's playing well this year. But what about Lowry getting a bad draw? But he's one of the best weather players that we have on tour. Are we going to take a chance on him because he is getting to a 40-1 number?
So I'm probably going to regret saying this. Shane Lowry has a real habit of making me look foolish. But I think I'm going to take a pass on him here. His off the tee game has really not been great. He's lost strokes off the tee in his last 2 starts. This is not a get right place for his off the tee game. He wasn't even hit. He wasn't
85th putting on Bermuda too.
Well, and he wasn't even hitting the fairways in the simulator tonight in the TGL. I mean, dude, the guy has something not right with the long stick.
Yeah, the sequence.
And so I think I'm going to wait and see on him. There's some stuff coming up that I really am getting excited about Lowry about. We'll talk about him in coming weeks. I just think here he'll probably compete, but an outright, and especially at what's kind of a shorter number for Shane Lowry's form right this second, I don't love it. And the afternoon draw.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I don't know about Luke Clanton. He's slipped to 70-1 because, again, afternoon tee time. This is, Zalatoris, I can see. Clanton, on a golf course like this, dead last in scrambling in this field.
Number one
he's a pro. Yeah, but this is a golf course that's going to put every club to task, and Clanton very little experience playing Florida golf, especially. Like, it's like this is his stomping grounds, but not PGA Tour tracks. Like, this is it's like you can get lulled into, oh, he's such a good ball striker, he's such a good iron player. But what happens when he plays Copperhead course in the wind and you're looking at him having to scramble? Terrifies me that he's going to shoot 81 on Thursday, and you're going to be like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, so I think Luke Clanton is a higher risk, but I think the number reflects that at 70-1. Like, I'll just be honest, I have him rating out number 1 in my model here. He is number 1 in ball striking. He's number 1 in opportunity gain. He's hitting it straight, like very close. He's number 4 in greens and regulation. He's number 1 in strokes gained off the tee. He is also very good from those longer proximities. He's number 17 in par 5 scoring. Like, there's a lot of stats here for Luke Clanton, and he does have enough rounds to actually like qualify into this model. He's got the 36 that I shrunk this down to. So I think you got to take Luke Clanton very seriously here. I don't hate the tee time draw, but I mean, this kid can get nuclear hot. So 70-1 seems like, I've said it about Luke Clanton all season. If he's teeing it up, I'm betting him. So he's making my card.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the talent, but I think his likelihood of trunk slamming is extremely high with that 2:24 p.m. draw. He's already 122nd in bogey avoidance, 153rd, that is dead last in scrambling, 110th around the greens. So if he misses greens, he's absolutely screwed on this golf course, because even though the approach is heavily weighted here, so is short game, so is scrambling, so is putting a number on the card without a picture around it. This guy seems to be so aggressive that it can blow up in his face, which 70-1, I don't know that it's baked in as far as it needs to be.
It's a good thing he hits more greens more often than anybody else in this field. So
yeah, I don't know about it in 30-mile-an-hour winds. I don't think he does. I do agree with you on Rico Hoey, though. The Filipino, great guy. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's funny. He's awesome. He's playing really good golf this year. Rico Hoey, 70-1, got a good draw. Thank you, Rico. Yeah, he went from 110-1 to 70-1 with the draw. So
75 right this sec. If anybody's interested, go get him before it moves again.
Yeah, Rico Hoey might be the sleeper here. Another guy that I want you to kind of compare and contrast, because you like Rico Hoey. You also like Kevin Roy. I do too. I want you to compare and contrast those two guys, because we've talked about Rico Hoey. We've only talked about Kevin Roy a couple of times on the show, but they both warrant an AM bump in the odds.
So with Rico Hoey, the biggest things that stand out to me, again, I'm looking for elite ball strikers. He's number 4 in this field over the last 36. I'm looking at elite off the tee game. He's number 2 in this field over the last 36. You start to look at, again, some of those accuracy metrics, greens and regulations, number 8, fairways gained, number 12. So a lot of those accuracy stats that are super important here, Rico Hoey stands out above the vast majority of this field. And 75-1 with the good tee time as well. Like, I think that is a really substantial value for a guy that has such an elite accuracy game. So the deal with Kevin Roy is, I think Kevin Roy is like almost a little bit like a Rico Hoey light. Like, you look at the stats, they like kind of like parallel. He's just
good.
About,
good approach player, but don't rely on his short game either.
And with Kevin Roy, I mean, he's somebody who's popped up for us in modeling. We haven't really bet him a lot. He's made it into DFS for us. He's kind of just right in the middle of the pack. Where the value, again, increases substantially is that tee time draw, where he doesn't have to be as elite as some of these other guys in this tier. These kind of like better than 2/3 of the field stats that he has in almost every approach metric, almost every scrambling metric. Those are the things I'm looking at with Kevin Roy to kind of put him over the edge this time. Yeah, the kind of modeling liking him for the last 4 weeks. DFS, he's done okay for us. And then you look at just the way this is setting up for him. I think the skill set makes a lot of sense. So 75-1, I think, is a pretty good number mixed in with the rest of these guys in this area.
Yeah, I do have Roy well ahead of Hoey on my board, but that doesn't mean much because I filtered it so far that neither one of them has 24 rounds. So I go on eyeball test along with the modeling. You can't solely use one or the other, but I like both of them. I like Roy at higher odds before the draw came out. Same with Hoey. Like they're kind of the same guy. This kind of lends into like what happened. Luke Clanton got a terrible draw, and he's still the same odds as Hoey and Roy, which doesn't make any damn sense because Clanton is in a whole different stratosphere of talent. And so a little bit of wind isn't going to automatically make Luke Clanton the same odds of winning as these two guys that really haven't done any winning. Clanton is the kind of guy that can win a golf tournament that isn't set up well for him. I don't see that from Hoey or Roy. I don't really foresee that happening unless they really have a huge, like 4 or 5 shot swing between AM and PM, which I don't know that happens. Maybe 2 or 3 shots better on average.
I think it's like a 3. I think it's probably 3. Which is substantial.
Because this is already a tough golf course. Even those guys that are going to get the lighter winds on Thursday morning, they still have to navigate their way around this golf course, and it's not going to be easy.
One question that popped up that we kind of skipped right over the guy, and it's been a popular question the last 2 weeks, is like, are we on the verge of a Jordan Spieth resurgence?
He plays well here. I just don't understand it because the dude can't find a fairway at all. Like, this guy has no off the tee prowess at all. He's just a world-class scrambler. He's the best scrambler we've ever seen. especially if you get him in sand. Like this guy will find a sand bunker almost like he's doing it on purpose because he's the best bunker player in the history of the world.
I just with Spieth, I like to your point here. It defies logic. Like Spieth is so bad off the tee, and that's not like a coming back from injury statistic.
No, that's just like he always has been.
That's like Jordan Spieth.
He's just Houdini.
But like, there is this elite iron play. There is this elite short game play, and you know the scrambling play. All those things do come into effect here. And oddly, he does typically play better in harder conditions, better in higher wind, things like that. So I think Jordan Spieth is going to win? No. You know, if I could get a decent, maybe top 20 number on him, I feel pretty good about that. Top 10, I think, is pushing it even. We talked about it a little bit last week. Like I like Jordan Spieth to have a bounce back and a resurgence, a la what JT is trying to do right now. But I just don't think it's to the level of what JT is going to continue to do. And you know, that's kind of what's guiding me to not bet Jordan Spieth outrights.
And he got the afternoon draw, so it's I'm not feeling great about it. I'm not betting Jordan Spieth this week or playing him.
No, I'll wait on Jordan a little longer, but I hope it's coming, man. I want to see Jordan play well.
So as we get to the long shots, there's something I want to mention that the long shots make more of a difference with these wave differences. Like if you get a long shot that's still a long shot after they drew the morning tee times, then this is going to get a lot of attention. We're looking at guys like Bud Cauley, who drew an afternoon tee time and slipped to 110 to 1. I'm more likely to play a guy that's gotten a Mac Meisner draw at 120 to 1, and with a 7:51 a.m. tee time. There's not much difference in skill level between any of these guys. It makes more of a difference when you get a good draw if you're a fringe PGA Tour player or you just got your card this year. Some of these rookies are going to make some noise because they just have a better luck in this case. Who's on your board that kind of got a lucky draw?
Sorry, I was filing a note.
File it in the cylindrical file.
So the longer shot guys that got good draws. One of the guys I was just looking at just a moment ago is Matty Schmid, who popped for me. He's number 10 in my model. He's 110 to 1 right now. Drew the 7:40 a.m. start time. Been playing some good golf. Not as well known, obviously, as a European guy.
He's a bomber German.
Things to like about him, though. Excellent par 5 scorer. Excellent from those long distance proximities. We talked about the 175 plus. Very good at avoiding 3 putts. Very good at avoiding bogeys. Decent putter in general. He's inside the top 25 in this field. And the off the tee game is actually really pretty stout for somebody this deep in the odds too. He's inside of the top 35. So I like him. I think where he's a little bit scary is he doesn't give up a lot of bogeys, but he gives up an ass load of double bogeys. So
yeah, he's a bomber. And so when you bomb it out there 320, 330, sometimes it goes sideways.
Yeah, he has a propensity for finding trouble and in a big way from time to time. Who else do I have down here? Right above your guy, Bud Cauley, Max McGreevy, who we've looked at quite a few times. McGreevy just has a very he kind of epitomizes having a good bag all the way through. He's just very middle of the road through the entire bag. And he does have the late tee time, but he does actually tend to play better in tougher conditions too. So he's kind of a longer shot at 100 to 1 that I'm taking a look at. Like we bet him before, so I'm not really ready to be done with him.
Yeah. I like Mac Meisner. I got Meisner at 170 and he's down to 120 now. That's Meisner was, I believe, top 10 in my model. Yeah. Number 12, actually. Number 2 in scrambling, which is useful here if it's not windy. Number 3 in bogey avoidance. That got my attention. Like Meisner's had his struggles, especially on par 5s and making birdies in general. But I think on a golf course that demands scrambling, or making pars, we're looking at a guy who could grind his way to contention here. you put down a guy that I was thinking about. I was thinking about him. Neil Shipley, pride of Ohio State. He's got a nutrition. He's got a nutritionist now, dropping some lbs. Neil Shipley has slipped to 200-1. That's interesting because he's got the driver game, he's got the putting stroke, but can he put enough good approach shots and birdie putts together to make noise here? I mean, at 200-1, he's got a shot, right?
He scores more on par fives than any other person in this field.
That's because he hits the piss out of the driver.
He is crazy accurate on approach. He's number 12 in this field for a guy who's 200-1. Like, to be number 12 in this field in greens and regulation, to be number 1 in par 5 scoring. And I thought I had to double check it because I thought maybe it was a fluke. Like, we just didn't have a whole lot of rounds for him. He's got 32 of the 32 rounds in this model. Yeah. So it's not a fluke. That's the type of player he is. I mean, on top of all of that, man, he's just such a likable, lovable dude. Like, I don't know if you watched Full Swing, but like, I fell in love with Neil Shipley. Like, he's that guy. And 9:47 a.m. tee time. I mean, he's getting out before the chaos really starts. Yeah, great ball striker, dude. Neil Shipley at 200 is.
He was at 450 or something crazy when it opened, which is wild because this dude's he was low amateur by a long shot. He was the only amateur to make the cut at the Masters last year in very difficult conditions. This guy's got chops, and we're going to be hearing a lot about him because he's still really young. Another big beefy guy. Of course we like those guys.
Dude, I just want him to be really good. Like, I want him to be around, man. I just love Neil Shipley. But the stats back him up here. Like, this is a good situation for Shipley.
Yeah, great driver of the golf ball, and that's something you can't teach. Like, or you can, but it's really nice when it's natural. But 36th in putting and 22nd in good drives gained, that piques my interest. So with the good draw, I think I'm in on Neil Shipley.
Fuck, dude, I've done a lot dumber shit with $5.
Oh my God. One thing I did do a lot of dumb shit with yesterday before the tee times came out was drop a gigantic ladder on Carl Phillips at 150-1, all the way from outright top 5, top 10, top 20. I basically said Carl Phillips is a great setup for this golf course, and then he goes and gets a really crappy late afternoon tee time, and he's going to be faced with the strongest winds of the week in his first round. I think he's fine to make the cut. I think he's going to hang around, especially at the odds still being pretty good. You, of course, got him at 100-1 better than I did. How are you feeling about 250-1 Carl Phillips versus my every way ladder at 150-1?
So I bet the entire ladder. I bet pretty decent on this 250 number too. Like, great here's player. The thing.
Great player.
He is an elite player. He just, why he is down here in the boonies on these odds is beyond me. He's got the shitty draw here, but honestly, God,
even at 150-1 neutral before we knew when he was playing, that's ridiculous. This guy won 2 weeks ago,
and in dominating fashion. He
went wire to wire,
17 strokes to the field. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Like, he is very, very good. And
if he can survive Thursday afternoon, we're gonna make some money.
Well, in the pattern with him, when he hasn't played well, if you look at the players, it's like he has a bad round, he has a good round, he has a bad round, he has a good round. He's still coming into his own here. I mean, he's only got 2, 4, 5 starts on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. And his fifth one was at Sawgrass, where he had a bad 6-hole stretch, was why he missed the cut. And those 6 holes ruined our party of this guy coming out and pulling a JJ Spawn. Really, if he didn't have those bad, horrible 6 holes last week, we would have been talking about Carl Phillips pushing Rory, McIlroy, and others for the top of that leaderboard. But he had a couple water balls, and that was it.
Yeah, I truly believe that this is these absurd numbers we're going to get for the next couple of weeks on him. Like, if he doesn't win here, we're going to get another crazier number next time. It's just like, keep hammering it. This is the like triple digit hitter that is next on the. I mean, we got him at 65-1 in Puerto Rico, and that was a nice hit. This guy, we've been calling it since we've been talking about him all this season. If they're going to put him at triple-digit odds, hammer that because he is going to win at that number.
Well, and I go back to like next week is the Houston Open or the Valero Texas Open, I should say, and that was where Akshay won for us last year. Very similar skill set to Akshay Bhatia. They went to college at the same time, or they were the same. They're the same age. They played junior golf against each other. Akshay, of course, turned pro at 17, didn't go to school. He dropped out of school to be a professional golfer. Took a whole different route. Guess what? Full circle moment. Akshay is a 2-time winner on tour, and Carl Phillips is a 1-time winner, even though he went to Stanford and he's in his going into his 6th start. Akshay's got 4 years on him on tour. And now we get to see the rejuvenation of this PGA Tour and very similar skill sets. Like Akshay Bhatia and Carl Phillips, almost indistinguishable stat-wise. Short iron play that you're going to see next week at the Texas Open. I kind of want to see that Carl Phillips triple digits next week because holy crap, what he could do at the Valero at TPC San Antonio, what he can do there is going to be fireworks.
Yeah, I mean the only biggest, or not the only, but probably the biggest difference with Phillips versus Akshay, if you want to like talk about player types, Phillips absolutely smashes golf balls off the tee. I mean, he averages well over 315 per drive.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got him there, but outside of that, to your point, Bo, like really, really similar guys. So this is a good stretch for Phillips. Had a bad week last week. I think he bounces back here.
Yeah, he had 6 bad holes. That was it. He looked fine other than that.
The last guy I want to just throw, I've been talking about him a little bit.
The pride of Minnesota.
The pride of Minnesota, Frankie Sapin the third.
Oh, Frankie Sapin the third.
So he's got the good tee time, 919. He is at 250-1 as well. Really, this is a true long shot. Like it would take a lot for this guy to win, but very, very, very good short game player. And like I said at the very beginning of this show, strokes gained short game is the highest correlated stat to success at Innisbrook. So I would definitely at least throw $5 on Frankie Sapin on the off chance that he pops, because it is that short game elite iron play that he's very good at. And to Bo's point, crazy good putter. Good putter.
Yeah, he's like if Taylor Montgomery could hit the damn ball with a full swing.
That's about accurate. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, are we ready for the hat? Tim, are you here? Tim.
Did Tim leave? Tim left before the hat.
He must have had a prior engagement. I'm going to run this with my latest model, not the one in the show sheet, by the way.
Dude, the hat is like seriously trying to put pressure on us.
It's a high number.
It's a low number.
Ooh.
There's no fucking way that worked out that way for me. It's number 5 in your model.
Okay. That's a really
number 5 in my model is Thomas Fleetwood.
Oh, okay. And from one good UK player to another in bad weather, my number 5 is Shane Lowry.
The hat is making a run.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lowest number we've ever had on the hat. So it's top 5. Let's see. I mean, Fleetwood was 4 for me. Like mine goes Straka, Smalley, Kim, Fleetwood, Lowry, Cauley.
I went Clanton, Straka, Schauffele, Glover, Fleetwood, Highsmith.
Okay. Joe Highsmith. Shout out. Shout out to my moneymaker, Joe Highsmith.
So do we think it's Sepp Straka?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to put most of my eggs, especially with that draw. Sepp Straka with the morning draw. He was number 1 in my first model. Number 5 in my first model was also Shane Lowry, so it didn't change the result.
Oh, I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted with Willie Z, even with the bad draw. I just have a feeling about Willie Z this week. I'm gonna roll with
If
you.
anybody can make up for the wind, it's him because he's such a great ball striker. We saw it at Sawgrass. Willie Z it didn't affect him one bit when that wind was up at Sawgrass. The dude was hitting stingers everywhere, and they were majestic.
I'll tell you what. I'll ride the Zally.
Okay. What's the winning score going to be?
Ooh, I
have -9.
I think it's less than that. To me, I think it might be less than that. I think it might be 7 or 8.
Okay.
I think Thursday and Saturday.
You think Saturday is going to get him?
I think Saturday is going to be pretty challenging too. I just don't think it's going to be an all out.
Yeah,
I think Thursday and Saturday, and then Sunday could get worse too. Like this could be not great all week.
It's not looking great. So I do have. I did want to mention Corey Connors because our Canadian friend did say that he wants to bet on Connors. Connors not only has no short game, but he also has an afternoon tee time, so no chance.
And high ball flight, like it's not a good look for Corey Connors.
We love watching Corey Connors swing the club, but that's only half the shots. Like great, one of the best golf swings you're ever going to see.
Don't do it, Royal. You know what? Take whatever you're going to put on Corey Connors and just split it out amongst the long shots we mentioned.
Yeah, Phillips and yeah. But yeah, first round leader, I'm actually going to go with a little surprise. You want to guess?
I got nothing. Go.
My first round leader is going to be Thomas Dietrich.
I hate that for you. I'm gonna go first round leader. I am gonna actually say Xander.
Okay. Yeah, he's got the 8:13 tee time. He's a good starter anyway. He's usually when he wins, it's wire to wire. Like he's always got he's a front runner type player.
Yeah, he usually comes out hot and just kind of fades a little bit.
Well, he doesn't shoot himself in the foot though either because he really doesn't have any weaknesses. He just kind of has. Sometimes he gets caught. But yeah, first round leader bet Xander Schauffele, pretty solid. Although putting on Bermuda, 92nd.
Yeah, not great, Bob. Not great.
Well, this has been the 19th hole. Next week we go to Texas.
Tejas.
Kick up your boots. You're from Texas, huh?
I am born in Texas.
No wonder you like Willie Z so much.
So many things I was going to say about Texas.
Yeah. All right. Well, from Conor Coughlin, I'm Bo McBrayer. Join us next week for the 19th hole. You'll be really glad you did because we're going to be celebrating our 5th straight outright victory.